At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallis. On today's show, I am delighted to have Roland Butcher back with me, resuming his role as the show's cricketing expert. Roland will be sharing his always insightful thoughts as we review England's winter tour of New Zealand. We'll discuss England's recent success, analyse their 2024 Test match performances, and get Roland's expert take on the rise of England's newest star, Jacob Bethell, the exciting young talent born in Barbados. All that and more right here on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Hello, Roland. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Yes, Stephen. Great honor and pleasure, as always, to be on your show. And first of all, let me say, Happy New Year to you and all of your viewers.
Yes, and happy
the best for 2025.
Thank you very much. A happy New Year to you as well. And congratulations, because you got the England-New Zealand score right, 2-1. That must be a first.
Well, I mean, you might think it's a first, but from my point of view, definitely not a first. Just as I expected. England came off the back of, some poor results, but I always believe that, playing in New Zealand and playing in those conditions would be much more suited to their style of play. Also, I think the cooler climes certainly would have assisted them, and it certainly turned out that way.
Yes, England's first Test series victory in New Zealand since 2008. Won the first Test by 8 wickets, the second Test by 323 runs, and then were thumped in the third Test by 423 runs. Before we go into sort of details about England's batting and bowling and touch on New Zealand, could New Zealand have won the series? They did have England in trouble in the first 2 Tests, and they dropped 8 catches in the first Test.
I think New Zealand had their chances, but, my rationale really for that entire series was that, one, England would rebound. New Zealand came into the series, obviously, on a high, having defeated India in India, which is no mean feat. They came, obviously, to this series, but they would have known that, England would have been a different proposition, albeit with a fairly brittle batting lineup, but at the same time, the bowling attack that England had, was pretty good and was always going to be quite useful in New Zealand conditions. So New Zealand would not have been under any illusions that the series with England was going to be a tough one.
England, as I said, got thumped in that third Test. Before we talk about individuals in the series, as an England supporter, do we have to accept that the way England play, we will have those sort of results, or is this the way we play argument a bit of a false argument?
Listen, I think England's aim obviously is to play aggressive cricket, and I think generally that's the way Test cricket is going, not just for England, that it's becoming a much more aggressive game, and that's all to do with the fact that there's so much white ball cricket being played these days, and as you know, in white ball cricket, it's pretty much attack, attack, attack. So it is only natural that if you're playing, the majority of your cricket is white ball cricket, and the emphasis is on attack. It's only natural that will come over into the longer form of the game when you play as well. So I expect the future really of Test cricket is quick scoring. Basically, teams may get big scores in not too many overs. They may also get bowled out in not so many overs, because that's the way it's going to go in the future.
Because England were bowled out, they lost 19 wickets as it was in 83 overs in the third test.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, that's going to happen more than just at once, not just to England. I think, many other teams are going to experience that situation. But, when it comes off, you can see it leads really to some thrilling cricket. Both teams scoring quickly, wickets falling quickly. And I think all in all, it makes for much better Test cricket. You certainly don't see as many draws now as you did in the past, that's for sure.
No, Ben Stokes doesn't do draws. We didn't have one draw this year, England.
Yeah, but not just Ben Stokes. I think, if you look at most of the teams that play now, it's basically a victory or defeat. Very few draws. And that's simply because, if you're going to play that attacking style of cricket, then the chances of it going 5 days are fairly slim. England have shown that they can win in less than 5 days.
Is it always hard to lift yourself when you're 2-0 up in a series and you're playing a dead rubber? England talked like they wanted to win and I'm sure they wanted to win that 3-0, but is that always the problem when you're 2-0 up in a 3-match series?
I think normally when you're 2-0 up, you want to get that 3-0 too quickly. And perhaps at times you really take your eye off the ball instead of focusing on the process of achieving the victory in the third game. You want to get to the end too quickly. So, sometimes you're a little bit anxious. You wanted to win the game, then you make mistakes. You must also understand that the team that's behind, they don't want to get beaten 3-0 in the 3-test series. So, they're going to work hard to try and get things right in that final game. So it happens regularly where a team are 2-0 up and, the other team comes back and win the last test match. This is not a first, and it will not be the last.
Because this happened when England played against Sri Lanka in the summer when we were 2-0 up and we lost the last test.
Yes, and, Sri Lanka won that test and won it well. I mean, I thought Sri Lanka were excellent. England's second innings, you may remember at the Oval, the second innings really was not the best second innings when they were way ahead of the game. But all credit to Sri Lanka. They held their nerves, they bowled well, and then obviously some fantastic batting by Nissanka and Commander made sure that Sri Lanka got home. But Test cricket is being regenerated at the moment. It's good what's going on in terms of the cricket that we're seeing around the world. And I think a lot more people are tuning in to watch Test cricket.
Let's turn to the England batting. Harry Brook, 2 centuries. Joe Root, another century, 36 test ton. Jacob Bethell, 350s in his first 3 test matches, a 90 for Ben Duckett and an 80 for Ben Stokes. What do you pick out of the England batting during the series?
I would say the England batting over the entire series was sporadic. Unfortunately, they didn't get the start at the top of the order that they've been accustomed to. And, Crawley had a pretty disappointing tour, he just really couldn't get going. Once one of those openers go quickly, then obviously exposes the middle order, and then there's a lot of work to be done. So, you saw that, Duckett got a score 2, Crawley didn't get any, Pope got, one or so. Pressure always on Joe Root to deliver. Ben Stokes was feeling different in terms also of his form, apart from that one innings. And obviously you're missing the likes of Smith lower down the order. So I think England's batting was really, couldn't say what at its best in this series. I thought it was very, very up and down, inconsistent. And because of that, it gave New Zealand opportunities. They couldn't grasp those opportunities. But against a team like Australia, I think if England had shown those frailties in the series against Australia, Australia would have grabbed the initiative and they certainly would have got beaten.
You don't think we'll come back from 43 for 4 and 71 for 4 against the Aussies then?
Well, it'd be much more difficult because, the Aussies recognise when they're in good situations and meant to press the accelerator. They just don't ease up, and they've got the sort of bowlers that can maintain the pressure. When you think of Hazelwood and Cummins, I mean, you saw what Poland did against India, and then Mitchell Stark. When you get on a slide, they got the bowlers to maintain that pressure. So, England really don't want to find themselves at any time against Australia 4 for 40 because, it's not going to be easy going. It would need some extraordinary batting. And, this England side, this particular series, as I said, I think they missed Smith because I think he, coming in the late middle order and, really giving the innings some real solidity, that would have allowed Ben Stokes then to be much more aggressive in his play. They certainly missed him for sure. But, Jacob Bethell, I thought, was excellent, really. Perhaps looked the best England batter, apart from Joe Root. I mean, for a newcomer, I thought he really did have an excellent series for a first one away from home. And, he showed everyone that, he's got a future at that level.
How much do you know about Jacob? Because 21-year-old, he was born in Barbados.
I know him very well. I've known him since a kid. I was chairman of the Centre of Excellence, the Barbados Cricket Association, where Jacob was one of our young players. So he came through this, our system on the 13s, on the 15s. I knew him from the time he really was into the game. I know his family very well. I was very pleased when he got the opportunity to, go to England and further his education and further his cricket development. And, a couple of years later, you see where it's taken him. He's now really playing all formats for England in his first season of international cricket and showing the sort of maturity that I'm sure the England hierarchy will be very pleased with.
He looks like he's got the temperament for Test cricket.
Well, he's primarily a Test cricketer. I think what he's learned in the last few years in England, he's learned to be more of a white ball player. And I think that's come about because, he's got bigger, he's got stronger. When he was in Barbados, he was a very small lad, had excellent technique in the longer form of the game, scored hundreds on a regular basis. He was Barbados under 15 captain when he was like 13, and he was scoring hundreds then. So, he's always been that type of player. I think it's added a new dimension now to his game simply because he's been exposed to, in England, obviously, the Blast, the 100, another one there, cricket. So that's helped his game to come on leaps and bounds. But I think primarily, he is a longer form player. A lot of people were, I wouldn't say upset. A lot of people were wondering why England put him at number 3. But I never had any doubts that at number 3, he would do well because he's an opening batsman. He doesn't bat there for Warwickshire, but primarily Jacob Bethell is an opening batsman, especially in the longer form of the game. So batting at 3 is pretty much like opening. England lost wickets early, so he was always at the crease, in the first half hour. And he showed, the temperament which was always there.
Talking about top of the order, Zach Crawley scored 52 runs at an average of 8.7 in the series. Have you still got faith in him as the England opener?
Yeah, listen, you can't write a man off simply because he has one bad tour. Crawley has been perhaps one of the most dominant opening batters for a few years for England. I think, the injury this year really interrupted his flow, and he came into this series certainly short of cricket and short of form. So, I certainly wouldn't write him off. I would accept that, it was not a good series for him. He would accept that. He's got some work to do, but, I think he's very much part of England's plans and should remain so.
One person very much part of England's plans, Harry Brook scored centuries match-winning centuries, really, in both the first and second tests.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Harry Brook has had a phenomenal start, really, to his test career. We mustn't forget that, he's still very young in terms of test match cricket, in terms of number of matches played. He's only been just been on the scene, and what he has achieved really is quite remarkable. And he looks very much a test player for England, and how Joe Root would love having someone like him in the team, which takes a little bit of pressure off himself because Harry Brook is a very aggressive player when he gets in, has the ability to destroy bowling attacks. That would allow Joe Root to be Joe Root, which is just continue to pile up the run zone, bat as long as possible. So really, he is a godsend for England at this time.
Yes, to date he's played 24 Test matches and scored 8 Test centuries, and I think 7 of them have been overseas as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a phenomenal record for a young man who, as I said, he's still very young in his Test career. The future looks bright for him once he can remain healthy, fit, and have the desire to continue playing for England. He's got the game really to set some records for England going forward. Joe Root's setting the records now, but who knows? In 10 years' time, his name may be one of the names you call when you mention Joe Root.
One person who had a different role was Ollie Pope, who kept wicket following Jordan Cox's injury. What did you think to his wicket-keeping and batting down the order?
Yeah, I think he was quite suited there. I mean, he would know that that's not a permanent position because when Smith is fit, he walks back into that position. But when you think on the face of it, I think Pope did a pretty good job behind the stumps. It meant he didn't have to go and face the new ball batting at number 3. The injury, you don't like injuries to anyone, but I think the injury to Cox really was a godsend to England and to Jacob Bethell because it meant that it gave England the opportunity now to shift and give him the keeper's gloves, bring in someone like Bethell. And I think both of those things proved to be the right things to do for this particular series.
After what you said earlier, is Jacob Bethell now too good to not be in the side?
I think so. I believe that he must be in the side. I don't think someone who has shown that sort of promise against a team that, has performed well of late, New Zealand, in their home conditions, performing so well, I really don't believe that England can afford to leave him out of the team. I think that really would be a backward step. He's at the early stages of his career. He's got a lot to learn. But I think what he's done so far will give England some headaches because I'm sure that they'll want to play him.
Turning to the England bowling, how impressed were you with Bryden Cast? He got 18 wickets at 17 in the 3-match series.
Yeah, I think the England bowling attack really was the bright sparks really of the series. Cast, as you said, stepped up. Atkinson and all the other bowlers supporting, which meant that, they were able to bowl New Zealand out and put them under pressure. So, the bowling stock right now for England looks, pretty good. If you think, if you can have a fit Mark Wood and a fit Joe for Archer back into that setup with all those other fast bowlers, the fast bowling stock looks good. I think the spin bowling stock is still very much a worry. Bashir, etc., have done a pretty good job, but whether at this moment in time he's a match-winning off-spinner, I don't think he needs to be right now for England because England's real pace attack is what's going to win the matches. He does a good job, holding things together, picks up wickets, bowls a lot of overs. But I think, that's the area that England would want to address in the future, to find or hope that Bashir develops into that match-winning off-spinner. Someone like Nathan Lyon who, of late hasn't had the best of times, but that's because of the pitches have been so good. But every time Australia picks a team, he will always be in it because, he's a world-class off-spinner that in the right conditions can win you a game. So I think England have got to keep an eye out for that sort of player.
Is Shoaib Bashir still very much a work in progress? He got 49 wickets this year at 40.
Yeah, he's very much a work in progress. I mean, 49 wickets is a good return. I think the average is obviously pretty high, and that's got a lot to do with his inexperience, and a lot to do with a lot of the pitches that they played on, and the circumstances where he's being required to bowl. So yes, he's a work in progress. You've got to give him credit for what he has achieved in a short time as well, because England have kept faith with him, and every tour he's there. And when they pick a number one spinner, he's the one that actually plays when they play a spinner.
Briefly turning to New Zealand, I know you're a big fan of Kane Williamson. He scored 395 runs in the series, including that 150 in their third Test win at Hamilton.
Oh yeah, quality player. One of the best in the world. When he scored that 150, that wasn't an easy pitch for him to bat on. He made it look easy, and he showed his class. He is a top player, and New Zealand have got some good players coming through, and really having him around can only help those young players. So he had a good series, and it was expected. He's that good a player, even though he was just coming back into the team as well. But there was never any question that at some point in that series that he would perform big.
One of those young players from New Zealand, although a bowler, was Will O'Rourke. He showed some real pace in the three-match series, 10 wickets, but he troubled Harry Brook in the last Test, so he got him out first ball.
Yes, listen, New Zealand of late have been able to find some quick bowlers. I mean, if you go back to Shane Bond and come forward, suddenly, they're finding bowlers with pace and, movement, etc. You mustn't forget Matt Henry. I mean, he was absolutely outstanding in this series as a bowler, and really looked, probably the best bowler in the series, probably on both sides. So yeah, they've got some good, exciting pace, and O'Rourke obviously is a young talent with good pace, and yeah, he did shake them up.
And Tim Southey, a farewell series for him, ending with 391 Test wickets.
Yes, he did, and he's had a fantastic career as a fast medium bowler. But I was impressed with his batting, his six hitting.
He got to 98 sixes in the end.
I mean, that is phenomenal for a number 9 or 10 batsman. He's got more sixes than batters in international cricket. I think he's high up on the list. He's
about third or fourth, I think.
Three.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. And he played some good innings in this series. Nice way to go out. But yeah, great servant for New Zealand. I think they'll miss him because good trier, could always be relied upon. When the team's in trouble, to come and bowl and get a wicket. I think he looked a good team man. I think players enjoyed playing with him, and obviously, he had the chance to obviously captain New Zealand as well. So he's had a very satisfying career, and I'm sure that he will not be a loss to the game. Certainly, New Zealand will keep him involved in some capacity.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for Earned Income Tax Credit, Child Tax Credit, and Student Loan Interest. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
England 2024, 17 tests, 9 wins, 8 losses. How would you sum up their year?
I would say average. For a team in the top 3 or 4, that sort of ratio is fairly average. A team 1, 2, 3, 4 in the world, you would expect that, they would certainly have more than a 50% win ratio. So I think when England look back on what they've done in this last year, they will definitely say to themselves that, those number of losses made sure that it was really a mediocre year in terms of results.
Yes, we came 6th in the World Test Championship. England have redeveloped the team, though, where the team that was in India included Bairstow, Leach, Anderson, Ollie Robinson and Ben Foakes.
Yes, I mean, I think, they played a lot of cricket, England. They will tell you really that results have not been good, that they've got to get better. Hence, that's where they are in the Test Championship. And, even at that series, we all knew that they were never in with a chance ever of making the Test Championship final. So they would be aware of that. They know they've got a lot of work to do. And, certainly come the next cycle, results have got to be better than what they have done in this last year.
Talking about the cycle, how confident are you for 2025 with England playing a 5-test series against India and Australia?
Yeah, I think those are the 2 big series, really. I'm looking forward to both. I think India series will be a very interesting one. Where I say that is, India obviously just haven't been beaten by Australia. They've got some decisions to make. They've got some players that they've got to decide what's happening with their future. The likes of their captain, Rohit Sharma, Rahul, and Kohli. I mean, who would have thought that you would be talking at this point that a decision has to be made in relation to Kohli? So, how they handle those 3 persons will tell you just what's going to happen in England. If they bring those 3, I think England would be quite pleased to see the 3 here who have had not the best of form in this last year. And you can really see signs of deterioration in their play. I mean, someone like Virat Kohli, I mean, he has been a stalwart for India for a long, long time. And just last series, he looked very, very vulnerable. I think he got caught behind 6 or 7 times, either slip or keeper. And, Rahul similarly. And then Rohit obviously came in and, really struggled. So big decisions to be made by India. And so that series could be a very good one. I would expect to see good cricket on both sides. And then, as you said, then after that, the much more difficult series, I think, will be the Ashes series than the one against India. I think the Ashes series, simply because of its rivalry and the fact that it's down under as well, it's going to be interesting. England they've got 6 months to get the team together to take on the Aussies. The Aussies, there's some cracks in their side as well. I think, Khawaja is not getting any younger, and they've had to just replace an opener, David Warner, who they have missed because, he really held that opening spot there for a long, long time and gave them the sort of starts that they needed. So they've got some decisions to make. And, I think England have got 6 months to really get a campaign going to go down under and make a good account of themselves.
Is one of the keys to England's future success the fitness of their captain, Ben Stokes?
Yes, that's one. I think Ben Stokes is obviously a key member of the team because obviously, apart from being leader, we mustn't forget, that Ben Stokes is primarily a batter as well who, can bowl and bowl well. So his all-round cricket is valuable for England. But I think also the fitness of Mark Wood and Jofra Archer are also going to be important factors. If England want to get the Ashes from down under.
Is Ben Stokes too low at batting at number 7?
Well, I don't think with the workload that he has? No, because, the captain to be one of the main batters, to have to bowl as well, that's not easy. That's a lot of work for a man. And Ben Stokes is not 25 anymore. So I think you've got to take all of those things into consideration. And, if the likes of Archer and Wood and the other fast bowlers are fit and remain fit, it'd probably mean that Stokes doesn't have to bowl so much. So, it's possible then that you can risk him in a higher batting position. But it's a good luxury to have someone like him coming in at 7. I don't think the opposition, when they see Stokes coming in at 7, will be overly confident because, they've known what he's done over the years as a batter, particularly when the team has been in trouble.
You are listening to The Paddock and The Pavilion with Stephen Wallis. Don't forget, you can find this show along with our archive of over 300 episodes on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or on our YouTube channel. Now let's return to Roland Butcher as he looks ahead to the Champions Trophy. England's next major engagement is the Champions Trophy between the 19th of February and the 9th of March. No Ben Stokes there, but what do you think are England's chances? They're in a group with South Africa, Afghanistan and Australia.
It's a tough group. As you know, with these tournaments, it's all about getting off to a good start and then maintaining momentum. So this one's going to be no different. Each team in that group is capable of beating England, and they're capable of beating each other. So right at the start of the tournament, you got to get some wins under your belt and just show some daylight between yourselves and the other teams. It's not going to be easy by no stretch of the imagination, because all of those teams, I think, are playing good cricket right now. South Africa are playing some good cricket. Afghanistan, we saw in the last year what they have done. Australia, we know, is always going to be competitive. So, that group is going to be very, very tight.
England have Joe Root back, and we've also got pace in Wood, Archer, Carse, Mahmood and Atkinson.
Yeah, and obviously they've gone for pace attack. We'll have to see what the conditions are like, whether it is good for that pace attack. It's a brave move to have so many fast bowlers. But at the same time, if conditions are right, that fast bowlers can be an asset. So I think England are banking that, the pitches are going to be pitches that assist the faster bowlers. And also, I think having so many, it means that you can rest bowlers or rotate depending on the team you're playing and the pitch you're playing on. It gives you that flexibility.
Brendan McCullum in charge for the first time of the white ball team. Who's your winners then of the Champions Trophy? Pakistan, the defending champions.
Yes, they are, but I don't fancy them on this occasion. I think Pakistan, of late, in all forms of the game, has been pretty disappointed. Their cricket, I think, at the moment they're not sure where they're going with their cricket right now. I think they're just swanning along, and okay, they're defending champions. That should mean something, but I think they're going to have to play their best cricket if they want to beat most of those other teams and win the tournament in this competition. It's not going to be easy. I think the usual suspects are going to be thereabouts. And keep an eye on New Zealand. I think they may surprise you.
So you're going for New Zealand for the Champions Trophy?
I'm not saying I'm going for them just yet, but I feel that they can spring some surprises. I mean, South Africa, I think what's happening with their cricket right now and the confidence within South Africa and South African cricket, I believe that they've got a very good chance as well. And can they get that monkey off their back and get a major tournament? I think they've got a very good chance.
So it's South Africa for you then?
Well, I back the Aussies all the time. But, outside of that, I think India, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, think it's going to come from that forward for sure.
I think that's about all for this particular episode. I just wanted to remind you that Liverpool are still top of the English Premier League.
Well, you are not the only one who is reminding me of that. All of my Liverpool fans here in UK, in Barbados, and my wife and everyone else reminds me of that on a daily basis. And it is quite painful. But you got to give credit where it's due. I think they've played some pretty good football this year and deserve where they are at this moment in time.
Mind you, as an Arsenal fan, it was quite disappointing to see us get knocked out of the FA Cup by Manchester United on penalties against 10 players.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I had a foot in both camps because both teams were my teams. But yeah, I think from an Arsenal perspective, obviously, you would be very disappointed that a team going down to 10 men from very early, and then you go to extra time and you're still not able to break them down must be disappointing. And once you get past extra time, then anything can happen. So credit to Man United, because it's not often that Man United can go down to 10 men and still hold on for that period. So at the end of the day, I think they deserve the victory.
I think we'll leave it there, Roland. Thank you very much for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion, and we'll be hearing from you again soon.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Working hard is worth it if you're seeing results. And when it comes to working out, the same thing is true. You want the maximum benefit in the time you have. And that's exactly what Tonal is built for. And with their latest iteration, Tonal 2, you can ensure your workout is more tailored and effective than ever. Tonal's at-home strength training system uses adaptive weight to learn from your movement and set the optimal weight for every move, adjusting in 1-pound increments up to 250 pounds, challenging even the most advanced users to push their limits. You can also experience a full body burn with the new Aero HIIT workouts, the perfect blend of heart-pumping cardio and strength. Plus, the new built-in Smart View leverages a high-resolution camera that lets you see yourself during your workout, analyzes your movement, and provides real-time coaching, just like a personal trainer. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code 200TONAL. That's Tonal.com and use promo code 200TONAL for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com. Promo code 200TONAL for $200 off.